Hey guys, what's up? This is Andrei Restrepo and welcome back to a new video. Today I'm going to be talking about underexposed photography. It's a neat technique I like to use when I'm out shooting and how I edit those underexposed photos. So let's jump right into it right now. Okay guys, so underexposed photography is basically a technique I like to use for a lot of my creative work. I get asked a lot on Instagram, how did you recover that? How do you shoot like that and properly expose, your final image? And so essentially what it is you expose for the highlights and recover the shadows in post. Your midtones are gonna be underexposed, so you have that information in the highlights. It's a great technique to use because then you have a well-balanced image, a lot more room for editing, and you don't have any of the highlights blown out. So I have a couple photos in Lightroom that I'm going to show you this technique and how I do the editing in, so let's jump right into it. Okay guys, so now that we're in Lightroom, this is the first image that I'm going to be going over and how to recover these shadows. So first I wanted to talk about the settings that I shot this in. So this was a really creative shot, went out with my friend, wanted to capture just some content for Instagram and whatnot. And what I wanted to do was capture, a hair flip in motion. So I had to have a really fast shutter speed. So in this instance, I wasn't really even trying to underexpose. I just needed a really fast shutter speed and I didn't want to bring up my ISO too hard to have the cleanest image. So my ISO is at 160. It was a 35mm 1.4, the Sigma Art, and I shot at 1/1600th of a second. I can't even say that. And so thanks, to-do list. So I shot this and you can see here at the histogram that the blacks and the shadows are on the really low end. Blacks are almost clipping a little bit, but the highlight information is available. And so in this instance, I exposed for the highlights and I'm gonna recover the shadows in post. So like I said, the first thing we're gonna do is we're gonna bring up the shadows, and then here we have that information available for us. So now we have the highlights. We can even bring down the highlights even more to see them. We have the highlights and the shadows all well exposed now in this one photo. We can even look at our histogram. This is a very well balanced image, very dynamic. Now we have a lot of room to edit in. So this is where you can have your creative twist. The first thing I would do is even reduce the whites, raise the blacks a little bit to recover more of that. And just what this image is lacking is a lot of contrast now, because we brought up the shadows all the way, even bringing up the blacks. So now I would just warm up the image with the white balance because it's sunset. And essentially from here, you would edit the photo however you would wish. Whatever your style is for editing, just go on from there. The only thing I would recommend next is you check to see how much noise is introduced into the image, So go to those blacks, those dark sections in the shadows, and see if you have to recover, if you have to add some noise reduction. So it's probably best that you do. And so like I said, this is a lot of what I do for creative work, I wouldn't be doing this for any paid work, if you're shooting portraits, engagements, and stuff like that. In that sense, properly expose your subject to give them the cleanest image possible. And so that's pretty much it, This would be an image that I would probably post on my page, no problem. Next, the second image I wanted to go through is this one. This was a fun shoot for an eyewear company. But this instance, I properly exposed my subject, so there was no underexposing. And the reason I did that was because it was an overcast day. We can already see, this is straight out of camera, ISO 100, my Sigma 35 Art at 1.4 at 1/8000th of a second. So it was a really bright day, even though it was overcast, but this information is already available up here. So you can see if I reduce the highlights, all that information is pretty much available for us. So no sense that we have to underexpose for this instance. I could have done maybe a couple clicks down. So that's pretty much it, that I would just bring in some contrast, maybe even reduce the exposure a little bit and boost the shadows a bit. But in this instance, exposing for your subject properly was the way to go. And that's pretty much it for this, guys. So that's how you underexpose and recover in post. So one thing I really recommend is you kind of test this out by testing your camera's capabilities. DSLRs nowadays are incredible that they can recover so much detail. And a general rule of thumb is you can recover shadows easier and cleaner than you can highlights. Some of that information won't be available if the highlights are blown out completely. So I recommend just testing it out, properly exposing your subject, then go down half click, full click, 2 clicks, etc. to see how much you can recover the shadows in without being just grainy, muddy, shadowy image and whatnot. And that's pretty much it for underexposed photography, you know? Just expose for the highlights and recover the shadows in post. And so comment down what you thought about this. I'd love to know what you guys think about underexposed photography, and leave a like if you enjoyed, give it a thumbs up. If you want to see more of my work, it's all linked down below in the description. That's it, I'll see you guys in the next one. Gotta do some more editing.